morning, house guests. Welcome to today's Big Brother Over the Top updates and spoilers. Our house guests of the day are Nick, Randy, and Pearl. Yay! I hope your move is going smoothly, and they are rooting for Jason. I'm all about that, for sure, for sure. Alright, so yesterday they had the power of veto meeting, and Jason used it on himself, of course. It was lovely. Monty replaced him with Chrissy, which means that it's Chrissy versus Cornbread versus Danielle up on the block. Alright, so after the meeting, Monty and Morgan were up in the HOH room, and he let her know that there were some people who were trying really hard to get Shelby up on the block as a replacement. So Morgan's like, oh really? Well, Shelby's another vote for us. We can use her, so good job not putting her up. But you know, one of those people that was trying to get Shelby up there was Shane. And it's really making them realize they are losing Shane a lot quicker than they were expecting. They knew that he was getting close to Danielle and also to Justin, but they didn't know how quickly this would all happen. So then, even with all that, they're feeling pretty confident this week that Chrissy's going to go home. It's going to go their way. So they're thinking ahead to next week, and their targets are Justin, Jason, and Danielle. But Danielle is really their main target because they want to break up that Shane and Danielle showmance. They want to get Shane back. Alright, so then it was time for an announcement from Julie. And pre-recorded Julie said that each week America is going to have one vote to evict. And like all of the other votes, it will be anonymous. So they're not going to know who America voted to evict. I hope we get to know, because I want to know, how it all turns out. Oh, I guess we will be able to figure it out, because we'll see who everyone's voting for. Duh. But, oh, shit! This is exciting. All right, so they're all like, oh, my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? So then, a little while later, we've got Danielle and Neely with the strategy chat, and they're saying they really want Chrissy to stay. Obviously, they want Danielle to stay, too. So they want to get rid of Cornbread, but they're not sure if they're going to be able to get the votes together to make it happen. And Danielle's a little bit nervous about pushing too hard for this because she's up on the block. She doesn't want to mess it up for herself and get herself evicted. So she's like, I will work on Shane. And then Neely is like, I will work on, the plastics and, like, some other people that we could potentially get votes from. I think Neely's going to have a tough time with that because all those girls have been saying they definitely are not going to vote to evict Cornbread. It's going to be either Chrissy or Danielle. They want to get rid of Danielle, but they'll settle for Chrissy. So Neely goes up to the HOH room to talk to Monty, and she's just like, I wanted you to know that I want Chrissy to stay this week, and I'm going to be campaigning for her. That's just how it is. So she's telling him, like, I didn't want you to hear it from somebody else because, we've got a good vibe going right now and I want to be straight up with you. And she's telling Monty it's better to have Chrissy on our side than Cornbread, which is funny because they're not really on the same side, Neely and Monty. They're okay with each other, but they are working with totally different groups. So, yeah, it is better for Neely. For Monty, not so much. But Neely compares Chrissy and Cornbread to Clinton and Trump, which was pretty funny. She's like, either way, we're screwed. They're both ticking time bombs. Whatever. So then Monty's like, yeah, I got nothing against Chrissy. Whatever happens, happens. But at this point, he's pretty confident that Chrissy will be going home. So he thanks Neely for being straight up with him. Moving on. Neely starts making the rounds. She's talking to Morgan, Alex, and Shelby, trying to get some votes for Cornbread to go. And it seems like they don't seem that into keeping Chrissy as expected. So Shelby's like, yeah, Chrissy's coming after me, so I'm not going to vote for her to stay. Isn't Cornbread also coming after Shelby? Isn't everyone coming after Shelby pretty much? Except for, like, Scott and the plastics? Yeah. Alright, so then Shane goes up to the HOH room to talk to Monty, and he starts campaigning for Cornbread to go. So I didn't see the conversation between Shane and Danielle where she, like, flipped him. I don't know if it was off feeds or I just missed it, but I guess Shane's on board. Didn't take much work to flip him for Danielle. So Shane is telling Monty, it's going to be hard for us to get rid of Cornbread later in the game. He's cool with everybody pretty much. And, it's going to be tough to get rid of him. We got to take this opportunity while we have it. And he's also saying, like, it'll be really easy to get Scott's vote, which they'll need to pull this off, because he's really pissed that Cornbread keeps calling Shelby a bitch. I feel like Scott kind of has a crush on Shelby, but I don't know. So then he brings up that Cornbread also made this, like, derogatory comment. He said that, like, he was telling some story, and he said he was gonna, like, Jew someone down to, like, get a discount or something. That's not good. So people are freaking out about that, and Monty's like, oh, he said that? Like, no wonder America put him up on the block. That's one reason. Also, Shane is saying Cornbread has really changed since America put him up. His whole vibe is different. And Monty's like, yeah, I see what you're saying, but I don't want to betray him. He's in our group. And Shane's like, yeah, but we never really solidified that, and who cares? So then Danielle joins them, and she's like, we got to get rid of Cornbread. And she's trying to tell Monty that this will leave no blood on his hands. She's saying, yeah, it'll be good for you because all of your nominees will be safe. Yeah, she's trying to sell that as a good thing, but that's awful for Monty. That would mean that all 3 people that he nominated this week would still be in the house. That sucks for him. But I don't think he sees it that way. So Danielle's trying to tell him, you'll still have a bunch of targets in front of you if we get rid of Cornbread now, because Chrissy will still be in the house, Shelby will still be in the house. So she's trying to say you're buying yourself extra time. But I don't know. It's tough to tell what Monty's really thinking sometimes, because it seems like the last person he talks to, you know, that's who he's going to go with. It's one of those situations. But Monty has all this info now, so he goes and talks to Morgan in the backyard. He's seeking clarity, and because Morgan's like his best friend now. Again, I think there's another crush here. Monty's totally crushing on Morgan. Okay. So he lets her know that Shane wants Cornbread to go now, and it's really confirming their fears that he's flipped to totally working with Danielle. So Morgan's like, no, we have to keep Cornbread this week. He's a vote for us. Chrissy will never be a vote for us. We need to stick to our guns here. So Monty's like, okay, we're going to do that. And he lets Morgan know that he trusts her over Shane. Ah! Okay. So then a little while later, Scott and Shelby are chatting out on the hammock, and they're realizing that the votes are there to take out Cornbread now that Shane has flipped. And they're just like, oh well. They don't really seem too concerned about it. They don't really campaign for him at all. They're like, it is what it is. And it is the first week, so you don't want to really stick your neck out there for anybody. But Scott lets Shelby know that he wants to work with her and Alex, and Shelby's like, yeah, Alex scares me, but she wants to be on her good side because she doesn't want to, you know, she doesn't want to be against Alex, so she's into it. So then, speaking of Scott, this was really weird. This was an interesting conversation. He goes upstairs to talk to Monty, and he's like, I'm going to tell you right now, whichever way Shane votes, I'm voting with him. He's with him. So, you know, we know that Shane wants to vote out Cornbread. Alright, so Monty's like, okay, well, who do you trust more, me or Shane? And you'd think that he would say Monty because he was talking to Monty, but Scott's like, I trust Shane more because I've spent more time with him this week. I've gotten to know him more. Like, you've been up in this HOH, so I haven't really bonded with you as much. Monty's like, okay. But, you know, if Scott voted for Chrissy to go, along with the 4 plastics, that would give them 5 votes. Assuming that America votes for Cornbread to go, it would be a 5-5 tie, which would leave it up to Monty. So, like, they would be able to keep Cornbread, but Scott does not want to be lumped together with the 4 girls. He doesn't want it to be the 4 of them and him voting for Cornbread to stay. So he's like, no, not about that. I'm going to stick with Shane. That's what's happening. So he also doesn't want to be associated with Cornbread because America's watching. He knows that Cornbread has said some offensive things. And I definitely see Scott trying to work the America angle hard throughout this game. I think that's going to be a big deal with him. And I think that's going to make him extremely paranoid. But it's just an extra layer to the game this season that isn't usually there. So last night, for the first time, they had live DRs on the feeds. They started at 7:30 p.m. I think they're going to be on Tuesday nights and Friday nights, I want to say. And they had one feed on the diary room, and the rest were still on the rest of the house. It was hilarious. So this was cool, because, like, we don't usually get to see this. We see the really edited diary rooms on the show, and, like, this isn't normally what would happen in the diary room, but it was still cool to see them, you know, talking on their own, answering questions. So the house guests were called in one at a time, and Big Brother left them a list of questions to read out loud and answer. So here's, like, basically what the questions were. What was your strategy when you came in, and has it changed at all? Who are you aligned with? Who do you like? Who do you dislike? Do you want to win the next HOH? What would you do if you did? Do you have any secrets to share? What was your high point this week? And then there were 2 questions that were only for a few people, because they were like, if you're nominated this week, what's your plan to stay? And then if you were the HOH this week, how did it go? Like, how would you rate it? So it was funny, because, like, the last 2 questions, you only answer them if they apply to you. But Shane was the first one in there, and he was just like, if I'm nominated this week, like, what? That's really negative. I'm not going to think about that. And then when he got to the HOH one, he was like, is this a trick question? He didn't realize he wasn't supposed to answer those, so it was pretty funny. So let's just talk about a few interesting bits from the live diary rooms, because overall it took like a little bit over 2 hours to get through everybody. So here are some things we learned. Shane wants a showmance alliance with him, Danielle, Monty, and Morgan. We also learned that a lot of people are not liking Shelby. Neely said that, Shane said that, Justin, Chrissy, pretty much everybody outside of the plastics and, like, some of the Southerners do not like Shelby, and they want her out. If you're only going to watch one person's diary room, make sure it's Justin's, because it was hilarious. He goes in there with his freaking hat on and his glasses, and he was talking about how, I think this was on the secrets question, he considers himself a vampire, and he really likes staying up late with everyone, talking. And another secret, he walks around and, like, goes into the phone booth and pretends to be talking to people from home, and he pretends to order food. This guy is one of a kind. I'm so excited that he's on this season. Alright, Whitney goes in there, and we find out that she feels more loyal to Monty than to the plastics, the girl group. Oh shit. So then Monty was up after her. You know what, I expected that though, because she is one of those people, like Jason said, that, like, she's gonna let a guy dictate her game and possibly her life. No. Okay. So then Monty was up next, and when it was his turn to talk about who he's most loyal to, his top 2 were Shane and Morgan. So he did mention Whitney a little bit down the line, but he's her number 1, and she's not his number 1, so that's pretty interesting. Jason said that he's trying to change up his game a little bit from last year. Last season, he was all, I'm gonna, you know, be loyal, I'm gonna go down with the ship if I need to, whatever. This season, he's gonna be much more fluid with his game. He's not planning on staying as loyal to his alliances this time. He also feels like at this point, he doesn't really have anything solid, but he does feel most loyal to Danielle. Alright, so then Morgan, thank God, she said she does not have a crush on Monty. She is very happy in a relationship at home, but she is going to use Monty in this game, and she's really hoping to break up Monty and Shane. Interesting. Then Scott was in there, his top 4 that he trusts. He's got Alex, Shane, Monty, and Jason. He was also saying that he's trying to work with Shelby too. Does he have a crush on Shelby? He didn't say. But Shelby was up next, and she said that she's most loyal to the plastics and Scott. Alright. Alex, she went in there and she said that she was feeling pretty good, but then things really started to fall apart with her alliances when Jason won the power veto. It's only the first week. That, you know, your alliances really suck if they fall apart that quickly, but she's saying that she can only really trust Morgan, and she was feeling good about Scott, but then things started unraveling just, yesterday, just a little bit before these DRs with him, and she's like, I don't know if I can trust him as much anymore because he's voting Cornbread out, and it's just like weird. So then Cornbread gets in there. He wants to start working with Jason, which is hilarious because his butt's going home. And also, I feel like he's just trying to say that and trying to get close to Jason because he knows that Jason is popular with America. And Cornbread was just put on the block this week by America. So he's trying to, like, fix it for the future, but fool doesn't even realize he's going home. So then Danielle, she is feeling pretty good right now. She feels pretty in control, even though she's up on the block. And you gotta give it to her. She pretty much flipped this vote with Neely to get Cornbread evicted this week. So that's saying something. While she was on the block. It's crazy. Alright, so while they were doing these live DRs, news spread around the house that Cornbread is going to be going home, and pretty much everybody knows about it, except for him. Seems like he is not aware of the situation, and he didn't even try to campaign. He thinks he's good. I don't know. Maybe deep down he does know that he's going, and he's just like, whatever. I just don't understand how he can't tell. But, you know, they're starting to look ahead to next week's, trying to figure out who the targets are going to be. So the Plastics are saying that they're going to be targeting Danielle next because they want to break up the showmance. Also, I'm pretty sure they're jealous of Danielle, so there is that element as well. Danielle will be targeting Monty, and she said if Shane doesn't like it, oh well. Yes! That's right, Danielle. Alright, so this morning, there was this funny conversation between Monty and Morgan because he was like, yeah, I feel really good for next week because, like, I was talking to everybody and nobody said that they were going to put me up on the block if they won HOH. They're not going to say it to your face. Are you freaking kidding me? It's ridiculous. Other than that, I mean, there's been some, like, talk of different scenarios depending on who wins HOH this coming week. Scenarios. And it doesn't seem like Cornbread realizes that he's going home. Is anybody going to tell him before he leaves? I don't know. But it looks like even the Plastics are going to vote with the House, so it's going to be unanimous because they don't want to be out there on their own. So they're going to vote with the House. But tonight is exciting. We've got an episode, we've got the live eviction, and the HOH competition. So it should be interesting. So let me know in the comments who you guys are rooting for the HOH. And unless something crazy happens in the next few hours, it looks like Cornbread's going to be going home. So until tomorrow, much love.
Edit.